All right, it is Monday, February 19th, also known as President's Day 2024. No, he hasn't gotten better looking. Today's host is Daniel Govert, not Kyle Mountsier. So let's get into the show.
Hopefully he did, though.
Hopefully he got better looking while he's on vacation. I usually feel better looking when I come back from vacation.
Absolutely. Feel good, look good.
It's not because I ate better or exercised more. It's an inside thing. I feel better.
Where were you guys running? Who was chasing you at the end of that sequence there just now?
No one's ever asked that question. If you only listen to the podcast, in our intro sequence for the live stream, there's a scene at the end where Kyle and I are running, and actually there's like a drone like tracking us down. But I don't know. We were like, how can we make this look as close to a Beastie Boys video as possible? I think was the plan. When we shot that.
You're like, how do we show everyone we're healthy? We're runners or something.
Well, Kyle is a runner.
Yeah.
So he just went on with his life after that scene. Meanwhile, I sat on a bench for 13 minutes. Oh, man. Well, today is President's Day. So we know the auto industry. I mean, like if you work for a bank or the government or a school, right? You're not doing anything today. But if you're in the auto industry, you're working double hard today because President's Day, right? Like is a day where, what do we do, Daniel? Like,
I mean, I think if you're in New England, this is an extra big day. And I think if you're in the rest of the country, like we want some of that action.
Wait, why is that?
I don't know, but it's like all of my friends that work in stores on the East Coast are like President's Day is a legit big deal in New England. And I don't know if they claim every president, even though just saying Ohio had a couple.
Because they all went to Yale or Harvard.
Well, ultimately they had to go to the East Coast to be the president. I don't know, but I think this is, it's any opportunity we've got for some retail vacation. This is the one that we want to hop onto.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, hats off to you in New England. Share some of that love with the rest of the country. We have 85 days until a SoduCon, which is not a lot, less than 3 months. This is going to come in so hot. The website is being updated now on a regular basis with new speakers, new things that are happening. You can go to SoTucon.com to check out the details, but it's May 14th through 17th. The main trajectory is 15, 16. I mean, we got it as far away from the end of the month or the beginning of the month as we possibly could. Dead center in the month. We have a few awesome things going on. A partnership with Wocan. They are doing a breakfast event on the 15th in the morning. We also have a pretty great breakfast event happening on the 16th that we're going to be announcing very soon. So look, if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, still early bird pricing. Now is the time to get them. If you want to be a sponsor or participate in the event, let us know sooner than later, because like the booths are filling up, the special lunches are filling up, and all the other things that kind of we think of the show in like an activation mindset. So it's some really interesting opportunities. We're bringing Pitch Tank back. So if you're a sponsor of the show, you can have the opportunity to actually pitch from stage. Because I mean, Daniel, you can weigh in on this. Like we believe that dealers want to hear the pitch when they're at an event. They just don't want to hear it over 45 minutes unless they're really interested. Right. So, I mean, 3-minute pitches, right?
And the good thing, I mean, if you haven't seen content from look, let's be real. I don't get $1 whether you go to SoduCon or not, right? But it's like,
you know what? I'm going to give you $1 if someone goes to a SoduCon.
No, don't that way. No, don't nullify.
Now you can't say that anymore.
I'm keeping my amateur status.
Stop. Yeah.
But I think if you talk to people that went there last year, like you'll find out this is not the main point of being a pitch fest. This is not a vendor fest. This is truly collaboration. And you talk to other dealers that are like-minded there. Honestly, the vendors there too are like-minded also. They're about actually moving you forward, about hearing your feedback, what you have to say, good, bad, positive, neutral, whatever. And it's not just a one-way street. And it's definitely the borders, the lines, silos, whatever, they kind of melt when you're there. I think that's probably the best way for me to put it.
That's a great point. Just you can tell, like, when you're around like the energy of the people that you're like, oh, we see things the same way. And all of a sudden it takes out the first like 6 steps of relationship because you're already like, hey, like we already trust each other with this. And people just start sharing. We'll talk about it once the feature is released. There's a major tech company that we know that a feature and report that they built into their system actually synthesized at a session at a SoduCon last year regarding fixed operations. We'll talk about it once it like kind of comes full circle. But we started saying like the next innovative ideas in automotive are born at a SoduCon.
Because of the ease of the conversation that you have there, right? And it's like you're wandering through the desert and all of a sudden you see someone else and they speak your same language. And you're like, we're not the same tribe, but like you speak the same language. And that's definitely what it felt like. And this year at Pitch Tank, we're also going to be giving out overly ripe fruit to the audience. So that's actually a new dynamic. It's an activation. It'll be immersive for the people on the pitch tank. Let's put it that way.
And we are going to roll all the camera footage in 240 hertz super slow-mo, so that when one connects, we're really going to get all the social footage out of it we can.
You really want to be able to see it. Yeah. That's, I mean, my contribution.
There you go. Well, we appreciate that. We're also this week going to have an ASOTU Edge webinar. This is our quick shot webinar forecast, 20 to 30 minutes, not 50 minutes. And it's just moving and it stays lively. We're going to be with our friends, Upstart Auto Retail, talking about the results of a 100 dealer survey that they recently did. And, Keyshawn Batts, head of customer success, is going to be taking us through all the insights gleaned from that. Dealers always want to know what other dealers think. This is a great time to do that. If you just go to our homepage, asotu.com, scroll down just a little bit, you'll be able to sign up to be part of that webinar for free. Let's get into some news, shall we? All right, we have some special news because Daniel's the co-host today. Second story. The first story, I'm sure you have an opinion on this too. You have opinions. That's why you're on the show. We need opinions.
That's right. It's just like anatomy. Everyone's got it.
Oh, I thought you were... People do have opinions on anatomy too. All right, moving on. Dealers are facing mixed results with the new IRS portal for EV tax credit transfers. While some are smoothly navigating the system, others have hit technical snags, challenging their ability to offer the instant credits on EVs, putting dealers in kind of like a precarious situation. So some dealers successfully have used it online, getting immediate tax credits. We talked a little bit about this last year. The government's already issued about $130+ million in rebates directly to dealers, but others, however, are facing some pretty significant technical glitches, putting them at a disadvantage. Andrew Tang, operation manager at My Auto Group in Salinas, California, shared a 2-month ordeal where there was a glitch in the system. It wasn't confirming that he was registered, and he said it's like we're dead in the water, voicing his sentiment over dealers struggling with these issues. He said after nearly 2 months, he hasn't been able to issue the credit. And they've actually taken the risk and have given the credit out anyway on 9 Chevy Bolts, exposing themselves to a big liability, but finally have gotten it settled over 2 months. Our friends at Mohawk Chevrolet, they had a unique hurdle. There was like an issue over a character in their name. It was an ampersand that was in there, and it's on their legal documentation. It didn't transfer to the portal, but they finally got that figured out. One other dealer, Gary Pretzfield, co-owner of Auto Trust USA, said he encountered a known error that prevented the tax credits from coming through. And here's his quote: "The whole thing, it sucks and it's unfair," he says, and expressing his frustration over the...
Was that just about the tax credit or was he talking about...
No, he did. maybe, but obviously...
that quote from a general background.
No, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's about the portal issue. But obviously...
I mean,
I'm surprised that $130 million have gotten paid out. I'm surprised about that.
Yeah. I mean, none of this to me is, first of all, the bigger liability is to leave those Chevy Volts on your lot, right? So like, I mean, I would think any operator's doing exactly what they're doing and making the deal, right? And, like make the deal and then you'll figure it out later. I don't think, this is an IRS function that's having only a 2-month delay.
Yeah.
Let's call this a win.
I think when we covered the story last week on how much money they already paid out over it, because we were talking about this in December, like, all right, here we go. How's this going to go? So, I mean, it's certainly a lot different than cash for clunkers.
Yeah, right. I mean, and I think if everyone's comparing this to just the speed in which we got our PPP payments, right. That was the last time that we got money from the government. I mean, that worked, that came out, very expeditiously. And this is just, I don't think first of all, if you're comparing this, I don't know, everyone's different OEM, but the OEMs that I've had experience with, we're chasing down payments and incentives for longer than 2 months, right? So it's not, I don't think that's anything unusual. I don't think this is like all of a sudden the IRS can't find its wallet, right? Like, right. I was going, geez, no, this is your turn, isn't it? Right? I don't think it's that. And I don't think that I don't think it's going to deter any retailer from trying to take advantage of it. And it's just unfortunate, but it's just not something that's uncommon. And I don't think 2 months is anything. We're still going to call that a win.
There you go. Then we'll call it a win. I'm going to call it a win. Speaking of retailers taking advantage of a situation, this one's especially for you. When I knew you were going to be the guest host, I was like, this is the story that's going in this morning. Mercedes-Benz refutes claims of deprioritizing high-end vehicles for cheaper gasoline-powered cars, emphasizing a strategic balance between ICE, EV, and plug-in hybrid models due to actual market demand. The company allegedly told dealers at their NADA make meeting that 2024 will be the year when they focused on lower price cars to drive sales, according to one dealer who attended the meeting. An exec stated, quote, last year was about profitability. This year is about sales growth. So Mercedes plans to introduce 25 new products in 2024, focusing on both core and high-end segments. Despite rumors, they maintain their, quote, economics of desire strategy, directing over 75% of R&D to lucrative segments with a future aim for an all-electric lineup. And so here's the last quote. Mercedes-Benz spokesperson clarified, our long-term strategy is to go all-electric in the future where market conditions allow. Daniel, you spent a lot of years in Mercedes. You understand it inside and out. What are they doing here?
I mean, understand as best as possible, right? I think, you know, and I think you've got one of the most iconic, oldest brands in the world, still arguably one of the most desirable brands in the world, trying to navigate a very tumultuous sea right now. And they've done so, you know, fairly well in parts of the brand, and then they know that there's parts of the brand that need to be optimized. And I think really that's what they're looking to do. I don't recall that there was, you know, yes, there was some talk in Germany about prioritizing certain price points over others, but the top end vehicle segment for the brand is very important to the brand. It's not something that they're going to lose sight of. And I think, and right, I mean, everyone is sort of trying to feel their way along of where they fit in with electric. And to say that everyone's first shot with electric was successful, probably not. So yeah, so like let's
definitely not. Yeah,
right.
Definitely not.
So I think this is par for the course. This is, you know, you've got room full of very smart people that are saying like we went at this and we look, ultimately the EQS, great product. The fact that it's not selling has a
beautiful car. It's a beautiful car.
Beautiful car, amazing to drive, makes no apologies in terms of its drive. But you know, the news that a high performance, high dollar amount luxury electric vehicle doesn't sell fast, not news to anybody.
Are we really surprised?
Right, exactly. So this is at least, look, I'm saying at least if this is all true, then at least look, then great. They're paying attention and they're making those adaptations. And I think, you know, models that are coming this year, you're going to see a blend of some hybrids. You're going to see a blend with some plugins. You're going to see a blend with, you know, and fewer brand new all electric models. But let's make stuff that people still want, and let's kind of like blend in. Like when you're trying to get your kids to eat more vegetables, right? So how do we blend in electric? How do we blend in?
That's a great illustration, right? You just can't give them a plate full of vegetables. It's never happening.
Exactly.
With one, right? You start with a hybrid, then a plug-in hybrid, and then you know what? Maybe before you know it, they're eating a really nice stir fry.
Right. So, and you know, and if you look at the models that they're saying they're introducing, they're really going back to showing the iconic body lines, the iconic models, those silhouettes that everyone is in love with, that really define the brand. And I think a lot of people are glad to see them, you know, maintaining those things and showing everyone what Mercedes-Benz is, and can be from its heritage through what the future would be. And yeah, any news that a manufacturer can adapt that rapidly, when you talk about 75% shift, you know, a shift up to 75% in their R&D, and their R&D budget is massive, then that's something to celebrate.
Sure is. Speaking of things to celebrate, after a little context, won't sound like celebrating in the beginning, but we'll be celebrating the end of the story, I promise you. A recent report is highlighting the stark reality that almost no plastics can be effectively recycled, challenging decades of industry narratives and calling for accountability from the fossil fuel sector. Despite a major, like we've been living in a major recycling campaign for the last 15 years, the U.S. plastic recycling rate stands at a dismal 5 to 6%, with the report citing over 50 years of misleading practices by big oil and the plastics industry. So the industry defends its efforts, arguing that modern technologies are overlooked and emphasizes plastic's role in achieving sustainability. Here's a quote: recycling cannot go on indefinitely and does not solve the solid waste problem, says the Vinyl Institute. They said this back in 1989, and now it's kind of showing that they were kind of accurate. Now, in contrast, so that's like, oh, that's not great news, right? We've been separating our stuff for years, and we're like, what do you mean 5% of all this effort and all this work? Here's the bright side. In contrast, according to an industry expert recycler, executive producer of the Amazon Prime docuseries Repurposed, and one of last year's Sotocon's main stage guests, John Sacco, he says, your car is the most recyclable item you will ever own, coming in at being made from over 80% of sustainably recycled materials. I don't know.
I mean, does the Vinyl Institute still exist? And does it have my aunt's sofa in it still?
I like that it's the Vinyl Institute. I feel like it.
It's a great name.
Does it have your aunt's sofa? Does it smell like your aunt's sofa? Right?
think
Or
it
does
should
it
be
have plastic on the cushions? All the things.
The Vinyl Institute National, basically VIN, right? And I think that
they pivoted. Yeah,
it was heartbreaking when I first read this, because like if you see our recycling, our mound of recycling, like everyone else has like one recycling container, and we have like 50 bags of recycling next to it.
Separating, yeah.
Absolutely. Washing it, making sure that it's not contaminated when we put it in there. So I was a little alarmed when I read that at first. But I think automotive in general we're good at repurposing.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in terms of personnel, although that would be a great name for a recruiting firm, but I think that we're great at taking the materials that are around us and being able to put them to better use. And so I think that, I think that's actually an avenue that when we're talking about sustainability in automotive, I really wish they would yell that louder. And how many things that we do repurpose, how many things that automotive between dealerships and OEMs, how many things we do recycle and do try and upcycle and make them better for future generations. That's definitely, you're seeing that in cars today.
It's funny. I'm not going to make this as a political point, but the last two stories, both the one about the last two about Mercedes shifting to, items that people want to buy and making things profitably that people want to buy, and recycling things that actually make a difference and are sustainable, AKA they generate some level of profit to continue the sustainability. It feels like capitalism at work, right? Like capitalism isn't all good. But these are the principles I think that the auto industry is built on, which is why they want to put the consumer first in the EV conversation, which is why, they pay attention, like you say, repurposing so much, because despite the narrative, like I think when you start digging deeper, you realize that the principles that the auto industry is built on are largely ones that are good for everybody.
And anytime nothing gets OEMs to listen to consumers better than when they stop spending money. And
so loud and clear.
Right. So any type of slowdown for that, if we've got people now that are listening, then that's great, because they're not successful despite themselves. So I don't think, and you're right, this is absolutely capitalism at work. This is why we're in one of the greatest industries to be in the greatest country, because we do have the ability to make these types of adaptations that I don't think you're seeing coming as rapidly from other industries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Daniel, it was great to have you on the show today. Thanks you so much for just contributing your experience and your wit and just your handsome good looks to the show today. We'll see you tomorrow for a little bit of More Than Cars content.
Thanks, guys.